Hello, third form, Mr. Falali here. I hope you are all well. In this video, I'm going to be talking you through the third form longer writing assignment that you have been tasked with beginning today. Okay, we aren't actually going to be beginning writing this assignment today. It should be Thursday, the 2nd of April that you're watching this. You're going to be beginning your writing assignment tomorrow on Friday. But what I wanted to do, what we wanted to do in the English department, is to try and make this slightly more straightforward for you because, of course, you're going to be doing this assignment at home. You don't have the benefit of your teachers with you. And so we hope that this video will help you to understand what the task is, what it is you're being asked to do. This can be perhaps a little bit wordy, this document, so I want to just explain what each section is asking you to do. You should, on your Google Classroom for today, have been given a copy of this. It might be worth perhaps pausing this video and getting that document up so you have your own copy as well. Or you can watch this through and you can open your document afterwards, okay? So let me start by just reading you what the longer writing assignment question is going to be. So you're going to be answering a question on Animal Farm, just one question. The question is here, why does Animal Farm fail? So you're given one question and you need to attempt to write some analytical paragraphs, an essay to answer that question. I'll go into a bit more detail on how many paragraphs you should be writing and what those paragraphs should include in a moment. First, I just want to talk you through the first page, okay? So these 3 bullet points at the top, they outline what you're going to have in this document, okay? Within this document, you will find the question extract and some quotes to help you. You will also find a planning grid to use. Now, I'm going to talk you through that today in this video. At the end of the document are some helpful tips to improve your essay. So, it begins with the essay question. How does Animal Farm fail? You need to answer that question. You're given an extract, just as you would be given if we were to be doing some sort of an assessment. I mean, this is a longer writing assignment, but in class, if we were to do a literature assessment, you'd usually be given an extract. So hopefully this isn't too unusual to all of you. Okay, so here is your extract from Animal Farm. It's from chapter 4. Above in blue you have an extract context box. Now all this box is it's telling you where the extract fits into the story. So in Animal Farm, if you were reading the novel, where would you find this extract? It just gives you a reminder of what happened in the story at this point. And it says this, it says, here is an extract from chapter 7 of Animal Farm. At the end of chapter 4, Snowball was given a military medal for his heroic actions in the Battle of the Cowshed. However, in chapter 7, Squealer explains that this is no longer true, and that Snowball was in fact a traitor. Squealer says that Snowball was working with Farmer Jones all along, and in this extract, Boxer is confused by this new truth. Now, I'm not going to read the extract for you. What I think would be best to do is for you to just read that in your own time, okay? But you then have an extract from chapter 7. There's also a glossary at the bottom for some of the words that you might not know. You also have a few quotations from other parts of the novella, okay? Because ideally we would like you to use quotations from the extract here, but also to try and use some quotations from around across the novel, okay? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quotations there. You could choose one of those, 2 of those. However, if you feel as though you know the story pretty well, or if you like the idea of trying to use your own quotations, we've also put an electronic link to Animal Farm just at the bottom here, okay? So if you were to double click on that, it will take you to a copy of Animal Farm. You can read through that and try and find your own quotations, okay? Now, this is what we're going to be looking at today. This is our extract quotation planning section, okay? This is where we are going to find 4 quotations, and we're going to annotate some ideas. We're going to take those quotations, we're going to zoom in on the keywords, and we're going to explore them a little bit, okay? We're going to unpack them a little bit. The reason why we're doing that, the reason why we're picking 4 quotations and we're annotating ideas is because, and I'm just going to scroll down here and miss this page out for a moment, because Your task is to answer this question: why does Animal Farm fail? Now, the way we want you to do that is we want you to try and write a minimum of 300 words, okay? I'm going to challenge you to try and write a minimum of 300 words. Now, that would be roughly 4 analytical paragraphs, okay? For those of you who don't quite remember what I mean when I say an analytical paragraph, I mean this: a paragraph that begins with a point, is then supported with evidence, and then there's an explanation of your evidence, okay? So a point, a quotation, and an explanation, an analysis of your quotation, okay? You want to ideally write 1, 2, 3, 4 analytical paragraphs, and each paragraph needs to have one piece of evidence, which is a quotation, which is why we need to have a minimum of 4 quotations, and that is why we have this planning section up here, okay? If you can find 2 quotations from the extract, so 2 quotations from here, and then either 2 quotations from this section, or perhaps 1 quotation from this section and 1 quotation from the book, then you will have the 4 quotations you need to attempt to write the assignment. Now, some of you are going to want to challenge yourselves. That would mean using more than 4 quotations, okay? I would say that 4 quotations would be an absolute minimum, and many of you, I think, would probably like to challenge yourselves to use more than 4 quotations, okay? You certainly aren't limited to 4. 4 is a minimum. You can choose to use as many as you like, okay? But I think the important thing when you are writing an analytical paragraph is to try and include as much analysis of a quotation as you can, okay? It's better to say a lot about one quotation than it is to use loads of quotations but to only say perhaps 1 or 2 sentences about them, okay? Best thing to always do is to try and write as much as you can and to be as perceptive as you can about one quotation. But by all means, do feel free to write more than 4 paragraphs, and do feel free to use more than 4 quotations, okay? You'll notice that in your quote plan, the first 2 quote sections in blue say extract quote 1 and extract quote 2. And then it says novel quote 3, novel quote 4. That's because we want you to have at least 2 quotations from the extract. That is just this section here, okay? Once you've picked 2 quotations from the extract, then we want you to find 2 more quotations of your own. They can be from this section here. They could be one of these 5, or they could be from elsewhere in the novella, okay? And I personally would be, I suppose, particularly impressed if people were able to find their own quotations. But by all means, if you think that would be a bit too much of a task for you, too difficult, or if you don't feel confident doing that, then do feel free to pick 2 of these quotations, okay? Now, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to model how to annotate a quotation on a computer, okay? Because of course we're not in class, so we don't have pens, paper, and teacher, the things you normally would. We don't have a visualizer. Normally, of course, we would underline keywords in the quotation, or we would highlight them, and then we'd draw arrows around them, and we'd note take around them. Obviously, that would be quite difficult on a computer. So I'm going to show you how we will do that, okay? I'm going to model annotating a quotation for you, okay? And then what you're going to be tasked to do for the rest of today's lesson is to find 3 more quotations and to annotate your own ideas, okay? As a challenge, I would suggest that actually you try and find your own 4 quotations. So what I'm going to write today, you don't use that quotation, or if you do use that quotation, you add your own annotation ideas to it, okay? By the end of this lesson, you're going to have watched this video and you're going to have filled in this planning section. But I want to show you how you go about doing that. Now, we benefit being on computers in some ways. For example, we can just copy and paste our quotation that we want to use. So at this point, I would recommend that you pause the video and you just read this extract, just what you see on the screen now. From where it says, now when Squealer described, to where it says, Among Us at the moment, okay? I'm going to assume that you're going to pause the video in 3, 2, 1, okay. Now, at this point, you will have read the extract. I am going to recommend that before you start writing your assignment on Friday, tomorrow, I recommend that you read this extract a few times, okay? You don't ever want to just start writing based on one reading, okay? You want to read it 3 or 4 times. So, I've read it a few times now, and I'm going to pick this quotation here, where Squealer says to Boxer, "That's the true spirit, comrade," cried Squealer, but it was noticed that he cast a very ugly look at Boxer with his little twinkling eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that quotation here, where it says extract quote 1. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste that in. So there's my first quotation. "That's the true spirit, comrade," cried Squealer, but it was noticed he cast a very ugly look at Boxer with his little twinkling eyes. The reason why I picked that quotation, my thought process was as follows. I knew that the question was, why does Animal Farm fail? And I immediately thought, okay, well, I can say lots of different things. I could talk about Boxer and the fact that he is an allegorical character. He's a symbol of the working class, of the proletariat. And we spoke in class about how, in a way, you could argue that Boxer's one of the reasons why the farm fails, because he has the power to say no to the pigs and to think for himself, and he doesn't. But one of the things I'm sure every class will have spoken about is the fact that the pigs and their corruption and their tyranny, particularly Napoleon's tyranny, that was one of the primary reasons why Animal Farm failed. There were many other reasons, and do feel free to come up with as many as you can. But one of the reasons why I felt Animal Farm failed was because the pigs were incredibly corrupt, and in many ways they were quite intimidating and threatening, okay, to the other animals. And I thought that that quotation was a really good example of that. I thought it was a quotation that had lots of words that I could zoom in on and that I could analyse, that I could explore. "That's the true spirit, comrade," cried Squealer, but it was noticed that he cast a very ugly look at Boxer with his little twinkling eyes. So I've picked my quotation because I think it would be, if my point were to be something like, one of the primary reasons why I believe that Animal Farm failed was because of the corruption and the tyranny of the pigs, then I think this is a really good piece of evidence to support that point. What I want to do now to annotate it is I want to highlight the keywords I'm going to zoom in on, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the word comrade. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click there on the little marker. I'm going to highlight it in yellow. I'm going to highlight the word ugly because he gives Boxer an ugly look, and we'll explain that in a bit of detail in a moment. And I'm also going to highlight the word twinkling eyes, okay, his twinkling eyes. Now, I'm going to go down to the annotation ideas section. This is where it's going to be slightly different to the classroom, okay? Of course, we have to take advantage of the fact that we're on computers and make up for the fact that we don't have pens and paper. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the word comrade. So I'm just going to write comrade, and I'm going to put a space like this. I'm going to identify the word type. It's a noun. Don't worry too much if you can't do that, although I will say that, you've got Google as your friend, most of you, so Google the word that you're zooming in on if you don't know the word type. If you just write the word that you need to look up, for example, jolly, if you just Google jolly and say jolly definition, then you will get the definition and you'll also get its word type, okay? So comrade is a noun. Once I've identified the word type, I'm going to identify the meaning, okay? So it means ally or friend. One thing you're going to notice is in this annotation ideas section, I'm not going to write in full sentences, okay? This is just note taking. This is to remind me of what I want to say in my analytical paragraph, okay? So comrade is a noun. Its meaning is to be an ally or to be a friend. It is heavily associated with communism and Soviet Russia. Remember that Animal Farm is an allegory for Soviet Russia, but the word comrade is in the semantic field. It's in the semantic field of communism. For those of you who can't remember what a semantic field is, you may have touched upon this this technique in when we did poetry. Semantic fields are essentially words that we associate with a particular theme or idea. For example, the semantic field of war would be words like soldier, trench, death, ally, whereas the word comrade is very much in the semantic field of communism, okay? It has connotations because it is so heavily linked to communism, particularly in Soviet Russia, which as I'm sure you know from studying Animal Farm, Soviet Russia, the Russian people were very much oppressed by Stalin. It was quite a dark and scary time for lots of ordinary people. Over the years, the word comrade has built up connotations of oppression. Oppression is to rule over people in a forceful way. Oppression is when people aren't given equal rights. Okay, if you oppress someone, you treat them very poorly. Now, over the years, the word comrade has connotations of oppression, but it's interesting because there's a real contrast in this word between what it means, so it means to be a friend, and the connotations that it has. Okay, so we're going to write this. There's a contrast between the meaning of the word and its application. What I mean by that is, let's use Squealer for example. Squealer calls Boxer his comrade, his friend. What he's saying, comrade, it means friend, it means ally, but he's not treating Boxer as though he's a friend or an ally, okay? So there has been in history, and there is in this story, a real contrast between how that word is being used, or what the word means, but how it's used, okay? So far we have that comrade is a noun, its meaning is ally or friend, it's heavily associated with communism or Soviet Russia, it's in the semantic field of communism, it has connotations of oppression, and there's a contrast between the meaning of the word and its application. We're going to link this though directly to the story, so we're going to say Squealer is speaking as though Boxer is an ally, but he is oppressing him. And that's probably all I'd say about the word comrade, okay? Now I'm going to move on to the word ugly. So I'm going to put a little space, and I'm going to move on to ugly. Ugly is an adjective. Its meaning in context, because normally, or often, the word ugly means to be unattractive. Here, though, it means something slightly different. When it says that Squealer casts an ugly look at Boxer, the meaning here is more that he gives him a threatening look. He looks at him in like a threatening or an intimidating way. I would say that this is potentially an example of foreshadowing. Okay, foreshadowing is when you get a sense of what's going to happen later. Okay, the reason why I'd say here that Orwell perhaps is using a bit of foreshadowing when Squealer gives Boxer an ugly look is because this is the first sense that the reader gets perhaps that the pigs are going to try and do something to get rid of Boxer. If you recall in the show trials, they do actually try to kill Boxer. Napoleon gets the dogs to attack Boxer, but he's too strong and he ends up almost killing one of the dogs, at which point they never try to kill him again until they send him to the knackers. But this is an example of foreshadowing because it suggests that the pigs may later try to kill Boxer. And this links to the theme of corruption, okay? This entire quotation is a very good quotation to use if your point is going to be that Animal Farm fails because of the corruption of the pigs, okay? So ugly is an adjective. Its meaning in context is that Squealer is giving a threatening look. But this is also potentially an example of foreshadowing because it suggests that the pigs may later try to kill Boxer because of their corruption. Lastly, we have the word twinkling. Uh-oh, don't want that highlighted. Hang on, close your eyes, everyone. Open your eyes, everyone. Twinkling. Twinkling is an adjective. Oh, not twingling. That's not a word. Ignore me. Twinkling is an adjective. Its meaning is to be sparkly, to sparkle. So he has sparkly eyes. It has connotations of festivity and cheerfulness. It's quite a positive word. If you think, for example, twinkle, twinkle, little star, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. I'm sure you know that song. Interesting fact about that song. When I learnt this fact, it blew my mind. But Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and the alphabet, when you learn the alphabet, the song, are the exact same tune. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. That blew my mind when I first learnt that. If you learn nothing else today, third form, you can take that with you to the end of your days. That is a very, very good fact. Now, twinkling, it means sparkly, and it has connotations of cheerfulness and of festivity. It's a very upbeat and positive word. Here, though, it links very nicely to the idea of deception, to the theme of deception, because on the one hand, Squealer's eyes are twinkling. So, Squealer's eyes are twinkling, but he is being deceptive. So, he's hiding his real intent behind his cheerful eyes. You see, he's speaking to the other animals and to Boxer with these twinkling, happy eyes, although he's doing that to mask, to disguise the fact that actually his intent is to lie to the other animals, okay? He's lying to the animals, but appears to be honest and trustworthy, and that's reflected in his eyes, okay? So, now we have our annotation ideas. What I would like you to do is I would like you to try and find 2 quotations from the extract, which is here, and 2 quotations from the rest of the novel. It could be 2 of these quotations, or it could be 2 of your own quotations from the book. You have the electronic copy just below. And I want you to fill in this section, okay? Tomorrow I'm going to do a video to show you how to then turn these annotation ideas into an analytical paragraph, okay? But your task for the rest of today is to try and find 4 quotations of your own and to fill in your annotation ideas. Don't worry if you look at what I've done and think that you potentially couldn't write this much about quotation, okay? Challenge yourself to write as much as you possibly can, but also don't feel too disheartened if you don't feel as though you can write this much, okay? Work to the best of your ability. Once you've filled in this plan, then tomorrow's writing assignment will be a lot more straightforward for you, okay? Because you'll already have a clearer idea of what it is that you're going to be writing. I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope you are all very well. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.